Prabhupada ki. So, we are in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called as the opulence of the Absolute. Okay? I will not go through the Falashruti of 10th chapter. But essentially the Falashruti was whoever hears the 10th chapter will attain to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Now the 10th chapter is called as the opulence of the Absolute. And since we have covered already the first few verses, I will not read those verses right now. But we will quickly skim through what has happened in the few verses, and then we will start from the second Chatushloki onwards. There we will start reading in our usual format. So you can start making notes if you like. So verse 1 essentially is a continuation of where we left, where Lord Krishna left the chapter 9. Chapter 9 was called as the most confidential knowledge. Okay? And the most important verse of chapter 9 what we saw was Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitra Midam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartam. So Lord Krishna told in the 9th chapter that whatever knowledge Arjuna I am giving you is the king of all knowledge. Is Raja Vidya. Like that. So in chapter 10 is nothing but a continuation of that Raja Vidya, if you like. So he continues to reveal that Raja Vidya, where Lord Krishna is revealing his opulences to Arjuna. He is revealing his opulence, he is revealing his potency, and he is revealing his position. Opulence, potency and position. These three things that he continues to reveal. Okay? Therefore, this chapter is also called as Vibhuti Yoga. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, if you have studied, then you may, I think probably the first canto, second chapter or third chapter, the word Vibhuti comes about. Vibhuti means what? Vibhuti is a person who has been empowered with one aspect of the Lord or some aspects of the Lord. For example, if you take Narad Muni, he is empowered in a specific way, right, to do certain activities, to become the spiritual master of so many people. So he is empowered to go all around the universe with his Veena, like that. So that's a specific empowerment. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam again, Maharaj Prithu section, if you see, then Maharaj Prithu is also empowered to rule the kingdom, to be an ideal ruler. So that's a vibhuti, that's a specific empowerment of the Lord. So in this chapter, who is the source of all vibhutis? Krishna. So he is revealing his own vibhutis, like that. So it's called Vibhuti Yoga, this chapter. The opulence of the Absolute. Now, in the 9th chapter, as I said, in this chapter, what is he talking about? His opulences, his potency and his position. Okay. In the previous chapter, he was largely talking about his energies. Okay. Now, the intent in the previous chapter, the 9th chapter, was that by having the discussion on his energies, Lord Krishna was acting in a way such as to establish devotion within Arjuna with firm conviction. So he was discussing that. He wanted Arjuna to be fully convinced, like that. Okay. Now, Arjuna is almost there, convinced. So now he is going to his opulences. He talked about his energies, now he is talking about his opulences, so that Arjuna's conviction can culminate in devotion. There is conviction and there is devotion. Right? So that's what is happening. Today also in evening Bhagavad Gita class, we discussed 9.3, the Saturday class, where Lord Krishna is talking about faith. He is telling Arjuna that if you go back Bhagavad Gita, if you go to 9.3, Lord Krishna is talking about faith. He says that if you do not have faith in me, then you will still continue in Mrityu Samsara Vartamani, in the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death. So in that chapter, the mood of Lord Krishna was to convince Arjuna about his energies and glories. And in this chapter, the mood is slightly different. He wants to now start talking more of that conviction should now turn to devotional service or to devotion. Okay, so that is a movement you will see. Now, how does the knowledge of the opulences of the Lord, which he is going to discuss in this chapter, how does it increase? How will it increase Arjuna's devotion? That may be a question. Okay. So, an example is given. Gurujan Prabhu writes, he says that just like an intimate billionaire friend, if you have a friend, suddenly you don't know who he is, suddenly you realize that he is son of Bill Gates or something like that. A billionaire friend if you have, then it enhances your appreciation for that person automatically. That's human nature. When you realize that your friend is such a great personality, it enhances your appreciation for that person, and you start feeling fortunate for having such association. That is very important. Even in friendships, it's very important to feel fortunate to have this kind of a friend. Otherwise the friendships won't sustain like that. Okay. So to feel fortunate, and also to feel increased gratitude towards that person. That yes, he is my friend, I am so grateful that despite being a billionaire, such a high person, he is my friend. So therefore, because of that psychology, that nature which we have, then Lord Krishna is revealing all his opulences. So Arjuna will feel more and more gratitude to Lord Krishna. He will feel more fortunate about being associated with Lord Krishna, and he will also, it will enhance his appreciation for Lord Krishna. And having had this outcome, that will inspire him to serve then Lord Krishna. So it's moving from conviction to devotional service. Does it make sense? So that.
Can you, so from 9th chapter to 10th chapter, he is making Arjun from conviction to
devotion. From energy to opulences. So that is what he says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is all verse 1. Whatever I told you is the gist of verse 1. Okay? Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna. Because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Because that knowledge is better, which not only gives you conviction, but which gives you devotion. That's why it's better. Does this make sense? So that is verse 1. Now,
I was just wondering, if 9th chapter is the most comprehension knowledge, why does Krishna say that the opulence factor actually makes you give that devotion more, give that devotion rather than just the... Because in 9th chapter he is explaining the most confidential knowledge, but in 10 he is explaining all his opulences. Is it for our purposes that because when others see Krishna's opulence we can understand?
Correct. Yeah. If you hear Gaurang Prabhu's class also, in Gaurang Prabhu's class, which is called as, I think, Principles of Deity Worship or something. Gaurang Prabhu has given a class. So where he is telling that why do we do elaborate deity worship? Because people, when they come to the temple, when they see that the Lord is very opulently worshipped, they may not otherwise understand who this personality is. But when they see rasagullas going in silver plate, right, and people are fanning him with peacock, this, that, he's decked with golden ornaments or silver ornaments like that, then their appreciation for this personality goes up. Just like, for example, if someone gets off from a Rolls Royce, your appreciation, you'll stop and stand and look at that person. But if the person is getting out in some 1985 model, then you will say, ठीक है भाई, बिचारा. Like that. You will not give second look to that person. But if someone is coming out with goggles and all that, and a chauffeur is coming out with white color gloves and opening the door, then you obviously want to see who is inside this car. Like that. So that is exactly what Lord Krishna is doing now. He is trying to increase he's trying to show who I am now. That's the mood here. Is it clear?
Should we then consider this as well as some confidential knowledge, continuation knowledge?
Yeah, this is a continuation of confidential knowledge. Except that the confidentiality part was broken in chapter 9.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean that only chapter 9 deals with that subject.
Okay,
So that would answer his
At
question.
the end of the day, everything about Lord Krishna is confidential, if you see that way.
So it's basically continuing in time.
It's just continuing. It's going from one facet to another facet of this. The next verse, verse 2. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Okay. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes a very interesting point here. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that if one argues, for argument's sake, if one argues that the demigods cannot know Krishna, if somebody argues that the demigods, generally demigods are known for higher sense gratification, right? They have a higher degree of sense gratification in the higher planetary level systems. So if someone argues that they are not unable to know Krishna because of the high amount of sense gratification that is there around them in their lives, then that is a flawed argument. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that it is a flawed argument, because he says that even the sages who have renounced all that sense gratification, even they struggle to understand Lord Krishna. So understanding the subject matter of Lord Krishna has got nothing to do with somebody's level of sense gratification or somebody's level of renunciation. It has got nothing to do with any of these things.
What does that mean?
We will come to that. So what is it that is there about understanding Lord Krishna? What is the single one factor by which we can understand Lord Krishna? By hearing from his devotee. That is the essence of whatever is going to happen. It continuously talks about the power of hearing. The whole theme is that. Hearing from devotee. For the next few verses, that's the theme which is going to happen. Everything culminates in hearing. Hearing in the association of devotees. That is the only way one can know and understand Krishna. Just because, which means what? If somebody tells you you are a wealthy person, you are living in Malabar Hills, right? In Bombay, Malabar Hills or Banjara Hills in Hyderabad. If someone tells you you are living in this place or you are living in what is that, Burj Dubai, okay? So if you are living there, therefore you cannot understand Krishna. How can you live in such an opulent building? What is the answer you will give? It has got nothing to do with whether I live in Burj Dubai or whether I live in Jhopadpatti. It has got nothing to do with that. Understanding Krishna has got nothing to do with your level of money, opulence, knowledge, nothing. Right? Neither can you say, oh, I have seen so many people in the Kumbh Mela who have not eaten for 10 days, who can live inside cold water or without breathing, who can surround themselves with heat. In the heat of the summer, they can put fire around themselves and then sit for long hours. Will they understand Krishna? No. It has got nothing to do with austerities. Nor you can say somebody has completely renounced sex desire in their life, therefore they will come to know Krishna. Again, it has got nothing to do with that renunciation. Lord Krishna can only be understood by hearing from your devotee. So he is ruling out all these aspects. Okay. I'm giving single pointedness of the process of understanding. Hearing from his bona fide representative. So that is a key point. So that's why if you now read that verse 2, it will make sense. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulence, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Now, if one starts hearing from the pure devotee, which is what Lord Krishna is recommending, and that's the way of understanding the Lord, then what is the result of understanding him as such properly? what is the benefit or what is the outcome if you really start hearing from a pure devotee about Lord Krishna who is coming in the disciplic succession? What is the result of that? Somebody may ask. So the Lord says in verse 3, He says, he who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undeluded among men, is freed from all sins. So what is the result of understanding him properly? Such a person is freed from all sins. And what does it mean to understand him properly? To understand that he is unborn, to understand that he is beginningless, and to understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So knowing Krishna means knowing these three things. In India, everyone says, I know Krishna, I know Krishna. Okay, he's got peacock feather on his thing, flute, murli or like, which is all fine. But those are just, that even a common man can know about Lord Krishna. But what only devotees know, confidential knowledge, is that Krishna is Anadi. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. That is the confidential part, which nobody knew. How many of us knew before we came to Krishna Consciousness that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead? At least I did not know. But if you had asked me, do you know Krishna? I know, Krishna I know. Which instrument he has? Flute. Which one? Lord Rama. Arrow. Bow and arrow. This everybody, even a child can tell. Right? But what others cannot tell is that he is the unborn, he is the beginningless, and he is the Supreme Lord. And then, by hearing from the disciplic succession, one knows these three aspects of Lord Krishna. He is freed from all sins. And how? That is why, even again, we were talking about talking about this in the Saturday class, feast class today. That is why it is said, Bhagavad Gita Kinchita Dita. Ganga Jalalava Kadika Pita. Sakradapi Yena Murari Samarcha. Krete Tas Yamanena Charcha. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Bhagavad Gita Thoda bhi Kinchit. Kinchita Dita. Thoda bhi agar padhoge, if you can read Bhagavad Gita, then you will understand who Lord Krishna is, and that will save you from the cycle of birth, this, old age and death. Because why? Because you will be free from all sins. You don't have to come back into this material. So that is the connection. So only Lord Krishna possesses all these three characteristics: unborn, beginningless, and Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now somebody may argue that Lord Brahma is also unborn. Someone may argue like that. Is he correct or incorrect?
Correct.
He is partially correct also, and partially incorrect. Why? From a point of view of the material world, then Lord Brahma is unborn in that sense. Okay, because Lord Brahma created from the point of view of material creation. Let me be very specific. From the point of view of Visarga, Lord Brahma is the origin. What is Visarga? There are two types of creation: Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is the primary creation. Visarga is the secondary creation. What is Lord Brahma in charge of? Visarga, not Sarga. Primary creation he has not done. Okay. Again, for the benefit of people who have joined the course new, suppose my wife goes to India, then she will prepare idli batter for me and go. Okay, and she will keep it in the fridge. All I have to do is take that idli batter and prepare idli, and then eat that idli. So who made the idli? I made, because I poured it. But who originally made the idli? Whoever made the batter and whoever explained to me the whole process of what to do. Otherwise, he can give the batter and I wouldn't know what to do. I can pour it in a cup also and drink idli batter. I wouldn't know what to do with it. So, if you understand this example, Lord Krishna originally is the source of Pradhan and Mahat Tattva, which is the original cosmic substance. Right? So, the original cosmic substance and the process of how that substance should be manipulated to form living entities was already given by Lord Krishna to Brahma. Tene Hridaya Adikave. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is written that he who imparted that knowledge to Brahma. The very first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.1.1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadasya. In that, it is written that it is you, Lord Narayana or Krishna or Vasudeva, who imparted that knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji. Does it make sense? Yeah. So therefore, Lord Krishna is the original creator. What Brahmaji did was, he took that knowledge, he took the ingredients like the idli batter, and then he created the body of a human being, the body of a goat, the body of a tiger, the body of a tree. So that is Visarga. So from the point of view of Visarga, yes, Brahma can be considered as the original person from whom every other living entity came. Okay. So the argument here is Lord Brahma may be unborn from that aspect, but Lord Brahma cannot be called as Anadi. He can be called as Aja. Aja means unborn, and Anadi means what? Beginningless, without origin. That qualification of beginningless can only be given to Lord Krishna. So that is enforced here. That's why Lord Krishna is saying like that. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the three worlds. Such a person is out of sin.
Just the expansions and expansions of Krishna, are they also beginningless, or what do we understand?
Beginningless. Because Krishna means Krishna and his expansions.
So basically all the Vishnu Tattvas are at the same point.
Beginningless.
In one sense, if you see, all of us are beginningless. In that sense, if you see.
So,
Because Lord Krishna says, never was a time when you did not exist, I did not exist. It means all of us are beginningless. In that sense. But you have to also understand the mood here. Not only the metaphysics, but you have to understand the mood in what he is speaking.
Prabhu, I cannot understand why Brahma can be called as Aja. Because that's a position, right, Prabhu, and that's not
Correct.
so. Do you think we can call him as Aja?
So Lord Krishna is specifically addressing people in a material universe. Does it make sense? For that material universe, there is a Brahman. No? So he is telling, you are Brahma. He is also not. That's what he is communicating in that mode. You are right. From a very Sastric point of view, you are right. Brahma is a position. And a soul which does Varnashrama Dharma perfectly for 1,000 lifetimes, is it? 100 lifetimes can become Brahma. Okay. So, further it is reiterated here that Lord Krishna is unborn despite he taking birth from the womb of Devaki, or despite he being called as the son of Vasudeva. So he is still considered as unborn. So it is inconceivable to the common man. You will say, Lord Krishna, you are saying unborn, but he was born from Devaki Putra, like that. Or Yashoda's son. He was born, so not like that. So he is explaining that actually I am unborn. So that is inconceivable. His birth in that sense is inconceivable. It's a little bit of a confidential knowledge. Only a devotee will understand that. Equally inconceivable is the aspect of he being Loka Maheshwara. He being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Supreme Personality of Godhead means what? You feel, CEO or the chairman of the board who is sitting there and who is simply, okay, sales manager, vice president sales, president sales, you come here, operations, CEO come, he'll take report from everyone. But you will not find the CEO or the chairman of the board driving the car of the finance chief, okay, or driving the car of some clerk in that department. You will not find that in the material world. Okay. So equally inconceivable is that this personality who is Loka Maheshwara allows himself to be controlled by Arjuna. So that is the mood which is coming out in Prabhupada's purport. Okay. And understanding this nature of the Lord, this inconceivable nature of the Lord, that he can become your servant, frees you from sins. Okay. So one who knows me as unborn, beginningless, supreme personality of all the worlds, he only undiluted among men is freed from all sins. This understanding can only be developed by association with Lord Krishna's devotees. Prabhupada reiterates that point. And in the next verse, Prabhupada in the next verse, Lord Krishna explains how all these qualities possessed, how all the qualities possessed by his devotees, how they actually come from him. He is explaining in the next verse. You have a question?
See, Prabhu, this unborn and beginningless, that can be common to demigods and even any living entity. Right? Only that Lokameshwara is for Krishna, but that Aja and Anadi can be applicable to anybody. Every soul.
Yes and no. Though we are all beginningless, still Krishna is the cause of all causes. So it was by Krishna's desire that jivas manifested beginninglessly. But still the original desire was Krishna's on how he wanted to manifest as multiple souls, living entities, infinitesimal sparks. Ultimately he is the origin. So he is beginningless. In that sense, all of us almost have our beginning after Krishna only. We didn't exist before Krishna, in that sense. Lord Krishna says, never was a time you did not exist.
Yeah.
Why? Because never was a time he did not exist. That is why he is saying, never was a time you did not exist, because you are qualitatively one with me, you are Mamaiva Amsha. In that sense, he is saying that. But still, you and I cannot be the cause, beginningless. Because you existed always, I existed always, but I am not the reason for your existence, you are not the reason for my existence, but Krishna is the reason for our simultaneous existence, which was always there. But still there is that cause and effect is there.
From that context. Okay.
You can probably say infinity minus delta, if you want to understand it arithmetically.
Just again,
Isn't it? It's like almost like that. Sorry, someone had a question? Okay. So in the next verse, which is verse 4 to 5, Lord says, intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy, all these various qualities of living entities are created by me alone. Okay, not only I created you people, but I also created the qualities. Right? He also created the qualities. He is the source of the qualities of people. Like that. Okay. So he is the source of everything, in short. Now, why is Lord Krishna going in this quality direction suddenly? That may be a question, no? Why suddenly he is talking about qualities here, right? So why he is talking about this is that he is trying to emphasize that the quality of, Prabhupada has written in Srimad Bhagavatam several times, that if we want to really understand Lord Krishna, which quality we have to be in? Mode of goodness. Because mode of goodness is the springboard to the mode of transcendental goodness. Sattva Gun is the springboard to go to Shuddha Sattva. Right? So, the qualities which are born of the mode of goodness are helpful in knowing Lord Krishna. That's the point here. Qualities born of the mode of goodness are helpful in understanding Lord Krishna. And these qualities are awarded by Lord Krishna himself to the devotee based on the endeavor that you do. Okay? Does it make sense? He creates these qualities. Okay? And he awards the living entities with these qualities. There are two things, please understand. He has created the qualities and he is awarding the living entities with these qualities. I make some cookies and keep it, and I award the cookies to some people and to others I don't. It's almost saying like that. So who is the source of all cookies? Me, because I made all the cookies. Right? But I am awarding those cookies to some people. Correct? Because that's why the word awarded is there. You don't award every year. You award based on something, right? So, qualities that are born of goodness are helpful in understanding Lord Krishna, and these qualities are awarded by Lord Krishna himself. The word awarded is interesting. Why? Because though one may understand that Lord Krishna is the source of all good qualities, the onus of cultivating those qualities or not being interested in cultivation of those qualities lies with the free will of the jiva. Though Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all good qualities, the ownership of whether I want to develop those good qualities or not always vests with the independent spirit soul. He is not saying you have to develop these good qualities. No, he is not saying that. Good qualities are there. Okay, I will award you provided you want those good qualities. It's like that. So the onus of developing those good qualities is on us. Then, as if to trick all of us, he makes the last punchline. He says that though you have developed all these good qualities, still it is not sufficient to know. Because you can only know me if you are beyond the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is also not enough. So, as if to trick, he is saying that. It's very humorous, this section, in that sense. You see. Very subtle. Despite the helpfulness of these good qualities, in itself the mode of goodness cannot reveal Krishna to you. Because he is beyond the mode of goodness. So it cannot reveal. It will be a springboard. But even that springboard he has created, but you have to, it's up to you to come to the mode of goodness. Yes, hold on for 1 second. Now, why he is making all this? Why is he going into all this direction? What does he want to say ultimately? What he wants to say is that intelligence is born. Intelligence and the mind, they are both born of the modes of material nature. And there is a high component of mode of goodness in intelligence as well as the mind. Okay. So all he wants to say here is that intelligence, your intelligence is also born of the material mode of goodness along with the other modes. Okay. Therefore, do not try to understand me with that intelligence. You can only understand me through hearing from a pure devotee. Don't try to understand through intelligence. So he is ruling out that also. You cannot understand Lord Krishna. His understanding him has got nothing to do with your level of opulence which you have, whether you live there or whether you live in here. Understanding him has got nothing to do with your austerities. Understanding him has got nothing to do with your penance. Understanding him has nothing to do with your own intelligence. So even with that intelligence, it is still born within the mode of, you can lift your intelligence to a point that it is working in the mode of goodness, but still that is not enough. There is no substitute for hearing. It's very simple. For example, if someone says, I have decided to be non-violent in my life, I will help everyone, all the poor people in the world, etc., etc. But I will now I will not hear from any devotee. I will read, that's all. I will just try to pray to Lord Krishna. I don't want to come for any Bhakti Vriksha program. I will not come for anything. I will be very nice to everyone. Hare Krishna Prabhu. If someone asks me, can you come for Bhakti Vriksha program? I will say, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna, thank you. Some people talk like that. No? We don't want to associate with any devotees. We just, हम लोग तो सिर्फ मंदिर में आएंगे, दर्शन करेंगे, किसी के जफड़े में नहीं पड़ेंगे हम लोग. Good people, like that. They will not go anywhere. Because you have to be part of the parampara. You cannot be untouched by the parampara and expect to understand Krishna. So, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. You have to become part of the disciplined succession. One has to take shelter. One has to take initiation from a spiritual master. And submissively serve him, ask him questions and hear from him. Only then one can understand Krishna. So that point is coming across more and more in these sections of how to understand Lord Krishna. And if even the great sages do not do this process, they cannot also understand. You may be a great sage, but if you are not following the process of hearing in the association of devotees, still you will not understand. And so this is in one sense a prelude. He is building the Chatushloki foundation. One of the Chatushloki is what? Matchitta Matkata Prana Bodhayantaha Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamaticha. So he is building the foundation for that. My devotees are always engaged in hearing, in discussing my glories, because that is the only way by which you can understand him. So he is building the foundation for all those verses now. Who am I? Aham Sarvasya Prabho Mattam Saram Prabho. If you see very beautifully, he is building up the theme to come to the Chatushloki. Can you see the connection now? The thread? Arun Prabhu, you had a question?
It's just a small doubt. The last paragraph of that fourth and fifth verse, it said that of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. So in this regard, the envious mentality that we find in the material world. So how can we relate that to this? That nothing, you can find nothing which is not in Krishna. So
Krishna is the source of envy also.
but then isn't it said that in the spiritual world there is no quality of envy? All the other
There is envy. So you will have to understand in full context. Okay? What you are talking about is one aspect, but you have to connect 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 and understand. So there is envy in the spiritual world also. In the sense, there are two camps, Chandravali camp and Radharani's camp. Both are envious of one another. Each one thinking why Krishna is with them only more than me. That is what is envy, na? उसके पास है, मुझे मेरे पास क्यों नहीं है? मेरे पास आना चाहिए. Somehow try to get Krishna's attention this side, like that. But that envy, the perverted reflection of that envy is in the material world. If you go to the next chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you will understand that the material world is like a banyan tree. Everything is a perverted reflection of those things, right? So the original envy is there. Tatra laulyam, envy and greed, like that. So that there is a perverted reflection of this is there.
you can say there are two kinds of envy. That is, one kind of envy is like I want to kind of like be more pleasing to Krishna, whereas other type is I want to enjoy like Krishna. Like, so the other one.
The other one is the perverted reflection in the material world.
No, but then that we have in the when we are in the spiritual, so that makes us fall down to the material world.
Correct.
So that,
Correct. Because we are tatascha shakti. Prabhupada says, we are vulnerable at any point in time. The jiva is always in a vulnerable position. That is why we are called as marginal potency. Marginal potency means at any point in time, you can fall down. But having gone there once, Prabhupada also write, then you wouldn't want to come back. Verses 6 and 7. The seven sages, the seven great sages, and before them, the four other great sages and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me. All the sages are also coming from me only, he is saying. Born from my mind. And all the living entities populating the various planets descend from them. So who created all of you? He is saying, the sages, and these sages were created by me. So Prabhupada writes that there are 25 personalities involved, 11 sages plus 14 Manus, okay, who are the source of all progeny. And Gurujan Prabhu writes that even these people learn only by hearing. They can also learn Krishna, understand Krishna only by hearing. Process is common, whether you are a sage or whether you are a progenitor or whether you are an Aam Admi party. Everyone has to hear and understand Krishna. Okay. And the key point here, the next line, he says, one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Now can you see? He is trying to increase the conviction of Arjuna, because one who is convinced will engage in unalloyed devotional service. This is that link between conviction and Devotion. That link is coming up here. Is it clear? Of this there is no doubt. So which means what? Hearing leads to unalloyed devotional service. That is the conclusion. Most important conclusion. Without hearing, we will not start serving the Lord. And without service, we cannot sustain the interest to hear about the Lord. Does it make sense? Without hearing, we will not start service. And without serving, we cannot continue to hear. Why? Because Shushusho Sattadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. Syan Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Shravana. Correct? What is that? What did I say? Oh, Kirtana that's it. Punya Shravana Nishevana. Sorry. Slip of tongue. So the main point is that without service, then one cannot get affinity for the messages of Godhead. Okay. But without hearing the messages of Godhead, one will not start one's service. If you have to serve someone, then you must be motivated to serve that person, no, first. Correct? So that initial motivation, the impetus for that service will come from conviction about the greatness of that person. And that is why all these opulence description is there. Clear? Okay, I don't know.
The thing is, like you said, that not just hearing, but hearing from a bona fide representative in the parampara that you talked about Krishna. But what about the people who have some just belief from their tradition that okay, they do service, but they don't have that proper knowledge, but still they do continue to do some service. So, isn't it that because of their service attitude, then I have read it somewhere that Krishna gets pleased from within and the knowledge is revealed from within as a Brahman. So does that make a point other than that?
I'll give you an analogy, a common word to answer this question. If you get into IIT, then you can master engineering. Just assume it. Just example I'm saying. If you get into IIT, BTech chemical engineering, then you come out of the course, you will know chemical engineering very well. But you have to get admission to IIT, to learn chemical engineering. So, whatever you are saying, those people who without knowing are serving the Lord in any manner whatsoever, they will get admission into IIT. That's all. They will not become great chemical engineers. They will get admission into IIT. That facility will be provided to them to connect them to the right parampara. They are ignorant. They don't know all this pariprashnena, sevaya, upadekshanti, jnanam. They don't know all these things. Just they are doing cooking and serving, like that. But Lord Krishna is watching them. Lord Krishna is bhavagrehi. Okay, he says that okay, in some way you have served me. Now I will start pulling you towards myself. That's why we allow all kinds of people to serve in the temple. The person may be a drunkard. The person may be a womanizer. Right? Nobody is debarred from. Nobody. There is no qualification that can inhibit you from serving Lord. There is no disqualification that can inhibit you from serving the Lord. Everybody is allowed to serve. Okay. Of course, some services are restricted. You cannot tell a drunkard to come and do deity worship. Correct? Nor you can tell a meat eater to come and give a lecture in the temple, Bhagavad class. Those services are restricted. But anybody can come and wash the pots, for example. Anybody can sweep the courtyard. And nobody is debarred. By that service, then they get what is, and we have covered this in the last class. If you hear all the previous classes, you will know. They develop what is called as Bhakti Unmukhi Shukriti. Agyata Shukriti and Bhakti Unmukhi Shukriti. Anjane mehi, you are pleased Krishna. You don't know it that you are pleased him. You have no idea. You never opened the Bhagavad Gita. But you ended up pleasing him in some way. You just served a devotee and you pleased him. My own journey started like that in Krishna Consciousness. I was least interested. Okay. But what happened? One of my friends, my best friend, in college. So he used to. I accidentally ended up serving him. He was anyway my best friend, but he became a devotee. He didn't tell me for a long time. He was dealing with me like a normal person. So in fact, I was also telling him, oh, let's go out, hotel jate hain, idhar jate hain, udhar jate hain. My parents are here, so I can't tell more. But he used to come to my house and sit for long hours. My wife used to ask me, "Usse शादी किया है, मेरे से शादी किया." Gauram Prem from Los Angeles. He is my godbrother also, but he was my best friend. So he pulled me. Relentlessly he was at me. But what happened was, I ended up serving him quite a lot in his material life, and in return he gave me Krishna consciousness. Because when I was serving him, I didn't know that he will give me Krishna consciousness or whatever. I used to just do it because he was मेरा दोस्त है, जिगरी दोस्त है, तो अभी कुछ जान भी देगा उसके लिए. No, that was my relationship with him. Okay, so I used to spend hours just ensuring that he is successful in his material life. That was all I was doing for him. But accidentally Krishna might have observed that yes, he must have been pleased because he was a serious devotee. Okay, so somehow his devotional life, it helped, his material life stabilizing helped his devotional life. And therefore today I believe that then he started talking to me about Krishna consciousness, and that's why. Otherwise the kind of life I was living, there was no connection between me and Krishna consciousness. Like that. दूर का कोई रिश्ता नहीं था. So sometimes accidentally you, and then he only told me one day, you just come to Radha Gopinath temple, ऐसे आ जाओ एक दिन, चलो. And then I went there. Then he showed me, all the devotees, and then I started swinging slowly like that. And then I was thinking, करूँ या नहीं करूँ? I was feeling a little bit odd because I was used to doing this. And then when you have to do this, थोड़ा अजीब लगता है. Correct? And then I was thinking, पुजारी वो 10 रुपए का प्लेट आएगा, नारियल, केला, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ ऐसा, अगरबत्ती. Nothing was like that was happening in the temple. People were dancing. But then it happened, slowly it happened. Just that one affection towards one devotee will bring you in Krishna consciousness. That is why, in fact, as a preaching methodology also, what we do in Bhakti Vriksha programs is that by serving people materially, we try to develop their affection towards us. Because if they develop affection towards us, they will attract Krishna's attention. I am not saying this with a sense of pompousness. Please don't understand. We are not over-emphasizing our position here. But that is the process. That is the process which he has established. Right? So then affection towards devotees will bring them to Krishna. So that's why we try to serve them and help them even in their material lives, so that our Bhakti Vriksha members then come closer, and then they get into the mainstream. And then when they do that, then when they become preachers, then they will also do the same thing.
So when it says that for such a sincere serving person, the knowledge comes from within, when it says like that, that means Krishna acts in a way that connects them to the proper person who can give the knowledge from without, or...
Sorry, what is it?
Like for example, there was an example, I think, I'm not very sure of the reference, but there was an example of the one person was in a very argumentative spirit. He came to some sannyasi, and then he didn't answer him directly. He asked him to clean the thing, and then again and again he was doing that, and when by the time he came, then what
all his questions were answered.
Yeah, so
I think it was probably Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Yeah, so in the real world, does actually things like that happen?
Yes. Yes.
Or that, as you said, like because of our attitude, he brings Krishna helps us to be in touch with some.
Yes, because of our attitude, Krishna helps us in bringing in touch. Yes.
So he can illuminate us with knowledge from within itself.
Correct. That is what is coming, no? In the fourth Chatushloki is that one. Desham evanu kampartam aham ajnana jamtamam nashayami atma bhavastu jnana deepena bhashvatam. That is what in the fourth verse he is saying that only, no? Chatushloki. I will inspire you from within. If you are trying to serve my devotee, I will give you the intelligence by which you can come to me. So slowly that intelligence will come that I have to surrender to a spiritual master, I should take initiation. It requires intelligence to think like that. Otherwise we can still be very dumb. We can be completely, I know devotees, I know in Canada also when I was there was one devotee who was untouched since last 40 years, he is untouched by Krishna consciousness. He will come to the temple, he will bring his own paraphernalia. मैं ये पुजारी लोगों को नहीं मानता हूँ, मैं खुद का आरती करूँगा, and from outside he will do आरती. Just imagine, ऐसा देखा है क्या? इधर, he will bring his own agarbatti and everything. But pujari is doing आरती, he will do his own आरती from outside, like that to the deities. He will say, I don't accept all these people. And after 40 years he is nowhere. He is still there only. He has become grandfather now. But all the children, grandchildren, everybody has gone ahead. Like that. They have taken initiation, everyone is, but he is there only because of adamant nature. I will not budge. Who are you to tell me? And that can stick to one person. Whereas, so attitude can make all the difference between progress and stagnation. It's all in the mind.
those question I can understand that Prabhupada Gita itself, that those devotees who are pure devotees now,
We'll go another till 9:15 today because we started late and we'll finish.
they just got attached to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So they were serving Prabhupada. In turn, Prabhupada, though directly he was cultivating them sacred Krishna Bhakti. Now they are all pure devotees now because Prabhupada was asking that they were not in need of any lodge. So they just had attachment to Prabhupada. So that association itself made them pure devotee. The knowledge impartial is up to the Krishna. So now they are all Maharajas now.
And Srimad Bhagavatam also attests to that. Prasangam ajaram pasam atmana kavya vidu sa eva sadhushu krito moksha dvaram apavritam. Attachment to a pure devotee will open the doors for liberation for anybody. The attachment which we have for the material world, if we simply dovetail it to devotees, then moksha dvaram apavritam. Khul jata hai darwaza. So hearing leads to unalloyed service. Now we come to the first Chatushloki, where we stopped last year. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samannitaha. This is a key memory verse, undoubtedly. One of the most important verses in Bhagavad Gita. It's like a twinkle twinkle little star, how nicely everyone knows. Like that we must know these verses. So important. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So in one sense, the Chatushloki summarizes the entire Bhagavad Gita. These four verses, 8, 9, 10 and 11, they summarize the entire Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says here that I am Swayam Bhagavan. Not only does he say this himself, but it is proclaimed all over the Vedas also and all over the Upanishads, Itihasas, everywhere it is proclaimed that he is Bhagavan. It's not that he is giving some self-certification to himself. Whereas it cannot be substantiated by any other scripture. Just like so many gods are there today. Like Gaurang Prabhu tells, there is a god who is very bulky who calls himself Kalki. In South India, Kalki avatar is there. South India like that. So everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry calls himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So it's not enough for you to say I am Bhagavan. Or nowadays new style has started. If the press reporter is asking, are you Bhagavan? Like that. अब इसका मतलब क्या है या नहीं है? ना भी नहीं बोला. So press reporter then by default, and then if you do some magic, then it's a name Bhagavan hai. Bhagavan is so humble, he is not telling he is Bhagavan. You can get benefit or doubt, like that. So two types of reactions are there. So it is not enough to declare or just be silent about it. So nobody can be Bhagavan. But Lord Krishna is saying he is Swayam Bhagavan. Not only he is saying that, but other Vedas are also saying that. The Vedas are not talking about the other people. Nowhere the other gods who claim themselves to be God, nowhere they are quoted in any scripture. But Lord Krishna is quoted everywhere. That's why you will see that Arjuna is saying that I completely agree. Even Narada, Asita, Devala, everyone is saying that you are Bhagavan. Like that he is going to say now. So, Swayam Bhagavan not only says himself but proclaimed everywhere. So only under the shelter of Parampara can one understand this Lord Krishna perfectly and worship Lord Krishna in prem with all their heart. See, understand this. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So we can develop Krishna prem only if we take shelter of a bona fide parampara. Otherwise it is not Krishna prem. Okay. For example, even in Vrindavan, you will find that many people are not under parampara. They may be living in Vrindavan, they may have big dadi. That is a different thing. Okay. In fact, there is something that happens in Vrindavan called as BD Seva. BD Seva. Okay. It's a very popular thing in Vrindavan. They smoke BD. Bhagavan ko BD chadata khud bhi marta hai. It's called BD Seva. Okay. So absolutely it is non-scriptural. Okay, they'll say, अरे प्रेम है भगवान के साथ, ठाकुर जी को भी पिलाएंगे, हम भी मारेंगे, बीड़ी. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because they are not attached to any parampara. They don't know how to worship the Lord. Okay, their sentiment towards Thakur ji, they think is love. But love is different from sentiment. Love means that you follow the process. Sentiment means out of sentiment you can do anything. Whether you know, so you are not trying to even understand what that person wants from you. You are just trying to impose your bad habits, saying that okay, he can also join and enjoy along with me in my BD. Therefore you start BD seva. It's like that. Okay. Or you have alcohol, you say that, oh Lord, I love you also. Chalo, dono mil ke pite. It's almost like that. Actually it is happening. It's not an exaggeration. It happens like that. People think like that. They just want to feel less guilty, so they have some sentiment towards the Lord, but not willing to come through the path of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and go into Agana Lord. For example, Pundarika Vidyanidhi was also having hookah, but that is not similar to the BD Seva what these people are doing. Pundarika Vidyanidhi was one of the most elevated devotees. He was a very confidential associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so he was also having that hookah, right? But there was nothing that that hookah was not a justification. Within his heart, he was a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So the moment that Bhagavatam was spoken, he threw that, he tore all his clothes and then he rolled on the ground, right? He was willing to tear the opulence to pieces for Lord when he heard the name of Lord Krishna. Whereas the people who do all these things, BD Seva, etc., they will go out and beg for roti and money. Right? So the mood is completely different. There he was willing to renounce all his opulences. So there was a devotee who was purely an internal devotee but externally not behaving as such. And here you have internally who are sense enjoyers but externally trying to dovetail that sense enjoyment and show as if they are devotees. So you have broad spectrum. So Lord Krishna is saying that without proper shelter under a parampara, you wouldn't be able to filter out what is sentiment, what is process. So we have to really understand the process through the parampara system, and then gradually by following the process, your Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti will culminate in spontaneous loving towards the Lord. And then you can worship me with prem, with all your heart. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The question one may ask is, what do you mean? How do we know? What do people do who worship Lord Krishna with all their hearts? What do they do? Which will be answered in the next class, in the next verse, which will form the next Chatushloki, which is 9, 10, 11. So how to worship Lord Krishna with all your hearts? We'll stop here. Any questions?
Do they get any benefit from it? Those people you have said, BD Seva.
BD Seva.
If they get any benefit?
Some benefit is there. They will have to then, some benefit is there. They may get in touch with they may accidentally serve a pure devotee and then they have to come in the mainstream. Prabhupada ki Jai.